So first of all, I wanted to start off this video by giving you some context because I'm sure you saw the title and you're pretty curious. First things first, I want to give you guys a bit of context about how have I been able to do it. First of all, I've been doing this for about 5 years. I mean, entrepreneurship in general, online businesses. So it's taken me quite a while to actually achieve this milestone. Second of all, it's not been easy. I have had to sacrifice so fucking much in my life for the last 5 years. To me, that's okay. Like, I'm not complaining about it, but I just want you guys to know that it hasn't been easy, right? And I want you to also, you might hear me say the sentence, I've been doing this for 5 years, but actually realize like how fucking long that is. Think about right now yourself sitting there watching this. What were you doing 5 years ago, right? Imagine the year and what you was doing at that time. It's probably going to feel like it was quite a while ago, right? And, from that day, whenever you just thought of 5 years ago, since today, I've been working every single day very, very hard to actually achieve this milestone. Just wanted to say that really quickly before we go into the habits and the tips that I can give you guys and that I've learned along the way, because I think a lot of people make these clickbaity videos and they sound great and they might be motivating, but they don't really give a lot of context, right? It hasn't been fucking easy. It's been really difficult, but it's been worth it. So in this video, I wanted to give you guys kind of 6, maybe 7, 8, probably with some couple bonus tips and a piece of advice that I've actually learned along the way to actually be able to generate my first million online. Now, if you're new to my channel and you haven't watched any of my previous videos, I have created one quite a while ago about how I was able to make my first $100,000 online. So if you're interested, click the link somewhere around here. Hopefully there's a little pop-up and you can watch that video as well. But anyway, let's just jump straight into it. So here are 6 rules or habits that I kept true along my entire journey. And habit number 1 was constantly keeping up with my health, and that means exercising, eating healthy food, and just not being a complete dickhead, right? When I was younger, when I was in my teenage years, I'm sure probably everybody is, when you're going to like college and university and you're young, you're like 18, 19, you just don't really care about what you drink or eat or smoke or, take whatever, right? For me, I always kind of understood that, look, I'm not going to have this young body for the rest of my life. I need to look after myself. But then also I kind of got into this whole biohacking industry, I guess, online without meaning to. It was just in other courses that I purchased and watched online. The importance of actually figuring out what you eat, how much sleep you get, how much rest you get, because all of that combines to actually resulting in your output. Now, when I was just starting out in my entrepreneurship journey, I was that guy that was always like, fuck sleep, I'll sleep when I'm dead, I'm just gonna grind, I'm gonna work till 4 in the morning and wake up, in like 3-4 hours and just go straight at it again. There is some truth to that. However, you do need some sort of a balance. You can't fucking sleep like 3-4 hours a day for months, right? Maybe you can do it for a couple of days, a week, or maybe 2 weeks. Like I have done that. Like when I was first starting out, I have this kind of personality where when I do something, I go all in. So that was me when I was first starting out. But you quickly soon to realize that, yes, it seems like you're being very productive and you're getting a lot of shit done because you're sleeping less. But then over time, you start to realize that getting less sleep actually makes you way less productive during days, during the peak hours where you should be getting your high intensive work in, okay? The gym in particular, and not so much to do with like actual focus work, etc. For me personally, gym, one, it teaches you how to be consistent and teaches you about compound effect without realizing it, right? So the same as any bodybuilder, if you go up to them and you speak to them and they're in great shape, they will never ever say, oh yeah, I just started like 2-3 days ago, or like I've been doing it for 5 years, but I took like 4 years off, etc. No, like they're consistent every single day. They are looking at what they're eating, how they're exercising, and so on. So it teaches you that from a young age if you start going gym in your early teens as well. Not only that as well, I mean, gym of course as well helps with your physique, obviously, which then translates into confidence with girls, confidence with sales, confidence in just talking to people, because you feel great about yourself. I think that's again another thing that I never really thought about it consciously, but it was just something that I done throughout my life. So yeah, habit number 1 is exercise and just staying healthy. I promise you this is very important. Cut out all of the bullshit that you eat in your day-to-day. Cut out all the fast food that you eat every single day. You can still order food, don't get me wrong, I do it every single day. Like I don't have time to cook, but I don't order like McDonald's or KFC or some shit like that, right? There are healthy places, depending on where you live. Actually, like when I first started, I used to live in like the middle of nowhere, so I had to make food myself. I hated it, but then when I moved to a bigger city, I would just order food and it was healthy. Anyway, that's habit number 1. Let's move on to the next one. Now, habit number 2 is actually always learning and getting into the habit of developing your skills. All right. So for me, I've mentioned this in a previous video of mine. When I was starting out, I genuinely have never had like this entitlement or this ego where I feel like I know it all. And for me, if anything, I've always been the opposite, where like if anything goes wrong or anybody in my team makes a mistake, it's my fault, right? Like, what did I do wrong? How could I have avoided that? How could I have taught them something? What could I have implemented for this mistake to not have happened, right? In terms of learning, the same thing. Whenever I'm picking up a new skill in particular, obviously, and I don't know anything, I will always just ask more questions. What's really interesting, I literally just thought of it now whilst I'm just recording this video. I think that is something that was taught from school. I've always been like a curious learner, I guess. Whenever something doesn't make sense to me, I have never been afraid to like ask questions. Like it's like from everybody who's a child, right? From a young age, like everybody who's a kid is always curious about, you know, what is this? Why did that happen? Why did he say that? Why did this happen? And the kids always are asking questions, right? And when you get older, you kind of start to stop asking so many questions, right? Out loud. You might still do it in your head, but you don't say out loud. In business, it's really important, right? I think the reason why a lot of people don't ask questions, especially when they're starting out, is because they feel like that kind of shows their vulnerability, that they're new, that they maybe don't understand something. But think about it, that is true. You are new, you don't understand shit, so who cares, right? Like, what would you rather do? Pretend like you know what, you know, this certain thing is that you have absolutely no idea what to do with, like this new skill, for example, or just put your ego aside and just go out and ask somebody, hey, by the way, how did you do that? That didn't make sense. What about this, etc., etc. Especially if you paid for mentorship or online coaching, right? Like, you are literally paying to get answers, and it's crazy. Some people that pay me, like, they feel afraid to ask me questions until I message them, and I'm like, no, like, feel free to ask me any question you want. I'm happy to help. So anyway, habit number 2 is I've always been in a state of developing my skills, always learning. Right now, I mean, you guys have ChatGPT. That wasn't a thing when I was starting out. ChatGPT is basically like an online friend that you can message about anything, and like the robot will answer any question within a matter of seconds, right? Like, I literally do this, by the way. So if I'm watching a podcast or I am listening to an audiobook, whatever it is, right? And I hear like a phrase, this is huge, by the way. I've never said this everywhere before. And I don't know anybody else that does this. I literally have just done it myself. If I hear like a word or a phrase, or if I just see something online that I don't understand, I would literally go into ChatGPT and search, what does this mean? Like, what does it mean to blah, 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 right? So anyway, that's huge, right? Whereas before you might have to like go on Google, search it, and then you have like 200,000 like websites that pop up. You have to read through the blog articles and finally find one. Whereas with ChatGPT, you just type the question, it will answer it as a human would. Other things such as, like I mentioned earlier, podcasts, audio books, obviously actual like physical books. I have a Kindle. Kindles are actually pretty good. I always thought they were like nerdy as fuck, but to be honest, especially if you like to like read outside or like when you're laying down, with a physical book, it's a bit annoying because if you have like shade and shit, it's just jarring. With a Kindle, it's pretty easy. You just press a button, flicks to the next page, and you can always see it. But yeah, constantly being in a state of developing your skills and mindset is fucking huge. Constantly be learning. You'll never know everything in this life, and don't ever fall for that trap as well, feeling like you know it all, because you don't. Nobody does. Okay, and that leads us to habit number 3, and that is having a routine, right? So I think obviously most of you guys have heard of these things before, but I just wanted to give you guys some context about how I use them and how it has actually helped me. So in terms of actually building a routine, I'm going to give you some do's and don'ts, right? I'm not going to give you an exact routine because this is the problem that I found, by the way, and this is the first don't. There is no like right or wrong routine, right? Like, some people say you must work out, you know, first thing in the morning, you shouldn't eat breakfast, and then you watch the next video and this guy will tell you to work out late in the evening and eat just before bed or some shit, right? So there's no right or wrong routine. The main point I'm trying to make is you must have a routine though, right? That's very fucking important, because if you don't have a routine and you're just kind of winging it, and you'll never really get into like the swing of things and get into the momentum, right? With a routine, you know for sure, like, okay, I'll wake up at this time, I typically do this thing in the morning, blah, 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 right? Some tips that I can give you. So first of all, Some people wake up early, some people don't. Some people naturally are good when they're first thing in the morning, some people aren't. And I also believe that it changes. Me, for example, I used to be that person that could wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning and I was sharp, I was ready to go, right? Now, I'm a little bit older, I'm 24, I'd fucking hate that. Like, I can't imagine anything worse. Now, I wake up around 7, 8 in the morning, whereas like I used to wake up at like 5, 4 in the morning, right? So to each their own. But anyway, a couple of tips that I can give you that no matter what the hell you're doing, no matter what kind of routine you're doing, will be useful. So first of all, don't set like 20 alarms. That's the worst fucking thing. And it also builds like this fucking horrible mindset, I guess, or like this horrible habit of always like delaying things and like snoozing things and I'll do it later habit, right? Just set one alarm. When it rings in the morning, fucking wake up and get out of bed, right? Just like, and I genuinely mean that. Don't like literally take the covers off and get the fuck out of your bed. A really great app that I used when I was starting out. Matter of fact, I'm going to start using it again soon because it's so great. It's called Alarmy and it's great. So the way it's obviously just an alarm app. However, you can't just you can't just press the button and turn it off. You have to do like a certain thing. And there's loads of different things that you can do. You can like shake the phone, or you can do like a maths quiz or some bullshit like that. The one that I chose is you need to scan a barcode of a certain thing. You obviously set the barcode, right? So how I used to use it, and I'm gonna start doing it after this video once again. Go into your kitchen and just grab whatever. Like I used to use my coffee pot, I guess, right? Or like my sugar, whatever I would have in my kitchen. I would turn it around and get the barcode, take a picture of it on the app, and set that as the thing that you need to scan in the morning in order to turn off the alarm. If you don't scan the certain thing, the alarm will just constantly keep going off until you fucking do it. So why do you want to do that? Because obviously, if this certain thing that you need to scan is in your kitchen, you physically have to get out of bed, walk to the kitchen, and scan it. And then if you're in the kitchen already at this point, you might as well make a coffee or whatever, you know, maybe if you don't drink coffee, whatever. So at this point, you're out of bed and it's helping you. Another thing that would help in the mornings, I only use it like during the nighttime, or sorry, during the winter months when it was dark, like pretty much 24/7. If you go on Amazon, they're like 30, 40 pounds. It's like what are they called? A morning light, I think. I can't remember what they're called exactly, but it's basically like this like oval light, like a bedside lamp, I guess. And you set a time for it. So let's just say 7 in the morning is when it's going to start going off. So if you set it for like 7 in the morning, at 6 in the morning, it goes from completely like turned off to very, very, very slowly getting lighter and lighter and lighter to where after an hour at 7 a.m., sorry, it's like completely light and it's like the sun is in your fucking room. The point of that is naturally your body is going to feel like the sun is actually rising. Again, this is why I used to use it in the winter months, is because the sun would not be up when I was waking up, and it genuinely does help you get the fuck out of bed. If you know what I'm talking about, comment below so I can like pin it and everybody can see what the fuck I was talking about. Now, next couple of bits in terms of the routine. Exercise is very important. You don't have to go to the gym, but at least like go for a walk, do something, stop being a lazy fucker. It's just gonna help you, right? Like it puts you in a great mindset. I used to do this whole fucking crossing my legs and meditate bullshit. I used to write down all my laws of attraction and visualization. It helps and it doesn't. I think when you're completely starting out and you're completely brand new to entrepreneurship and you have a really fucked up NPC matrix program mindset, I think it helps to get out of that, because it starts to make you like think big every single day to a certain level. Like if you're already making like 10,000 a month, 15,000 a month, nobody fucking cares. Like as long as you know what you need to do and you just do the work, just do it. For me, I'm making like genuinely like 100 times more money than I was when I was writing down my laws of attraction, and now I don't do any of that bullshit. Like sometimes I meditate in the sauna or in the steam room, aka I just shut my eyes and I just breathe and I just think, but I don't like take time out of my day to like cross my legs and fucking sit there and meditate. All right, again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it, it's just personal preference, I guess. For me, it's just like one of those things that I don't need to. I feel like I'm all right without it. So moving on to the next one. Right, so habit number 4 is again something that I personally do. I don't know anybody else who has said this online. I'm sure there's people that do it every single day, every single week. This is just something that I picked up myself just naturally, and that is reviewing yourself every single week, right? So yeah, what do I mean by reviewing yourself? I would literally sit there and think about myself from like a third point of view without any biases whatsoever, and just look at myself during that entire week and think back and be like, okay, what could I have done differently? What could I have improved? What could I have done better, right? So to give you some examples and ideas, I'm just thinking back. I don't do it that often anymore, but to be honest, it's a good habit. I need to get back into it. This is also why I love making videos like this, because it makes me think about how I got to where I am right now, and I just need to keep doing those things. It's pretty interesting. But anyway, so I would sit there and I would think about, okay, maybe during last week I spent too much time watching YouTube videos and just wasting my time. Maybe last week I missed like 2 sales calls, or like I was late to like 1 meeting, right? So then I would create a conscious mental note that this week I need to improve and be more punctual and actually make meetings on time, be more organized. If I'm on YouTube, I would mentally think, okay, I remember last week I spent way too much time on YouTube. This week I need to improve on that, right? And it's kind of like, in essence, I guess, to put this whole point in like in a nutshell, is I would kind of keep myself accountable, right? Like, think of it that way, and this would really fucking help me. So everything that example I just gave you there is about like me personally, but I also do this with business. All right, so with business I would be like, okay, what could we do next week that would improve the results from this week? So maybe I need to create more content. Maybe I need to schedule more appointments. Maybe I need to hire another appointment setter. Whatever it might be, I would look at my business the same way as well. Okay, habit number 5 is by far the most important. It's not really a habit, it's more of like a mental note, and it's like a lesson. It's just really understanding the compound effect and just the I guess the habit of being consistent, right? Consistent at fucking everything. Consistently showing up to work every single day. When I say work, your business, obviously. Consistently delivering on your promises. So if you say you're gonna do something, fucking do it. So your words mean a lot, right? Maybe you don't think about it consciously, but they are very powerful, especially in the eyes of your friend, your staff member, your family members, etc. When you say something, they expect you to do it, right? And as a man, you can't be one of these guys that, the point I'm trying to make is you don't want to be known as that guy where when you say something, nobody really cares. Nobody really thinks, you want to be known as that guy where if your name comes up in a conversation, people go, yeah, that guy gets shit done. Right? And the way you achieve that is by always fucking consistently delivering what you say you're going to do, right? So be careful on what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to do something this weekend or tonight or tomorrow, you need to make sure you do it, right? And just write a simple note on your phone, set an alarm, just set yourself reminders to actually do these certain things that you say you're going to do, all right? But that's besides the point. The main point I'm trying to make here is about consistency, and that really is like, I learned this at the door-to-door job that I done when I was first starting out. This wasn't when I was building my own business or anything. This is my first ever sales job. It was a door-to-door job. I don't think there's a better way to learn about consistency and the compound effect of like anything in life than like the door-to-door job. In an analogy they gave me, which was like, imagine there are 100 cups of coffee laid out on a table in a row, all right? None of them have milk in it, so they all look the same, but 10 of the cups out of the 100 have sugar in it. So from a visual point of view, you can't see which ones have sugar in it because they all look the same. However, 10 randomly out of the 100 cups have it. So how are you able to find the 10 cups with the sugar? You're gonna have to taste every single one of them, right? One by one. You'd probably overdose on caffeine in this analogy, but the point I'm trying to make is if you consistently would go through all of them, you would eventually find a 10, right? But if you just randomly like try one here, try one there, and then you give up, you probably wouldn't find a 10, right? So in sales, in business, in anything that you fucking do, gym, for example, going back to the first habit, gym teaches you how to be consistent, and it teaches you the value of the compound effect. I read the book. There's a book about the compound effect as well. It teaches you really well how it all works. Cool. And then the last one, habit number 6, is always having a goal in mind. Okay. So what do I mean by that? I don't mean just like, oh, like I want this Rolex, or I want to retire my mum, or I want to buy this car. Cool. Those are incredible milestones that you want to hit. When I say always having a goal in mind, it's like, okay, this is how I used to break it down to my students, right? So for example, let's just say you are 17 years old, 18 years old, and you want to get your first car, right? okay, that's fantastic. The car is the end thing, that it's the milestone, like that's the end thing, that's the end goal, right? You need to chunk everything down into little bits going backwards. So what do I mean by that? So the car is like the last thing. Before that, you need to obviously have enough money for insurance. You need to figure out how much money you need for that. And before that, you need to have enough for tax insurance, I guess, like road tax, at least maybe it's just a UK thing. Before that, you need to obviously pass your driving lesson, your driving test. Before that, you need to pass your theory. Before that, you need to do driving lessons and blah, 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 right? And now all of a sudden you have these little things that you can look forward to, that these are your goals, right? And every single time you hit one of them, you're closer to hitting that milestone, because otherwise it's just too big of a thing and you can't really fucking fathom it, right? So for me, when I wanted to retire my mum, that was my goal for about 4 or 5 years, like when I was first starting out. I think like about 4 years. For me, like that's a huge ambitious goal, of course, but then I had to break it down into little bits, and that's what helped me. So every single time I would hit one of these little goals, I knew I was getting closer and closer to retiring my mother, and I was finally able to actually do it in the end. So in business sense, in terms of always having a goal, it's like there's always something that you need to work on. There always needs to be the next project. You should never be in a state in business where you are just mindlessly every day setting appointments and closing deals, and that's it, right? You should always be building something. You should always have like a new offer upcoming. There should always be something exciting, not only for yourself, but also for the clients, okay? So that's really, really huge as well. Just before I wrap up the video, please leave a like. I really, really appreciate it. It helps me grow the YouTube channel, and I can create more videos like this because I do enjoy them, and I want to try and hit 100,000 subscribers this year. Anyway, a couple more little tips that I wanted to give you guys just before I end the video. Not necessarily habits, but just really quick pieces of advice that really, really helped me when I was starting out. So first of all is chunking, and this is something that I just spoke about, kind of having a big goal, but then you want to chunk it down into little tasks that you need to complete and little projects. And then once you complete those little tasks and projects, you've completed the big goal, right? So that's huge. Always chunk down. Also the Pomodoro effect. I think that's what it's called, or Pomodoro technique. I have it written down as a note because I can't remember what it was called, but I would do it. It's essentially where like you would set yourself like an alarm on your phone for every 25 minutes or a half an hour, an hour, however long you want to do it. And if you set that alarm on your phone, let's just say it's for half an hour, right? 30 minutes. For the next 30 minutes, you are going to be very, very, very focused, and you're going to try and finish whatever that task is that you want to finish in those 30 minutes. Alternatively, if you don't do that and you don't set an alarm for like 30 minutes, that task that you could complete in 30 minutes could take you 5 hours, 4 hours, maybe a fucking day, right? Because you get distracted, someone else comes up and you blah, 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 right? If you set yourself 30 minutes as an alarm and you really want to complete this said task, you will do it, which is really interesting. The next thing that I always kept a mental note of is how I do one thing is how I do absolutely everything. So for me, I've always been a big believer of that saying. So how you do one thing is how you do everything. So for me, for example, my desk is always clean. My desktop on my computer is always clean. I try to stay organized. Bedroom's always clean. My bed's always tidy. I just like to have things in order, all right? I don't necessarily have OCD. I don't really give a fuck about if things are like not symmetrical and shit like that. I really couldn't give a fuck about that. But more so, it's like if your bedroom is completely a mess and your desk is a complete mess and you have a bunch of shit everywhere, I can promise you that your business is going to be the same, because it clearly shows that you don't really give a fuck about your environment. Therefore, your business is going to be the same, right? Iman Gadzhi, I believe, is the first person that I heard the saying from. It's like people have personal problems that then develop into business problems, right? No, not a lot of people really have like business problems. They actually stem from personal problems, and that's pretty much the point. Like if your bedroom's a mess, your business probably will be as well, right? Because again, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Even little things like this, for me, for example, like even this fucking little setup for the YouTube videos, right? I went out of my way to get some LED lights, professional camera, a little rig, etc. Because again, I appreciate it. It's like I put a lot of effort into this, so imagine what and this is free, right? I'm doing this for free for you guys, so imagine what my coaching is like that is behind a paywall, right? Imagine the quality that is behind there and what kind of value I give there as well. That's something that I always kept in mind as well. And last but not least, I was going to mention this in the routine part, but I kind of forgot, is before you go to sleep every single evening, you must write down at least 3 things that you have to get done the next day. Little caveat as well, little side note, don't write down more than like 5 things that you need to get done tomorrow, because you won't get them done. You really just need to write down 3 things that you must get done. But like when I say must, you have to fucking complete these 3 things. Remember what I said about earlier in the video? You need to be known as the guy that gets shit done. No, these are the 3 things that if you just consistently, right, get these 3 things done every single day, it'll build that habit of just getting shit done, okay? And it's really, really important. So think about 3 things that you must get done in the evening. I'd write them down, and then when you're going to sleep, you're almost thinking about how to solve these problems or how to do these tasks in a better, more efficient way. You wake up, you're energized, you're motivated, you know exactly the game plan you need to do today, and you just get them done, right? Hopefully you picked up at least 1 or 2 things from this video that was very, very useful. I dropped a lot of knowledge in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, please leave a like on the video. These are kind of different videos to my typical OnlyFans management coaching videos. I just want to try and help people on a broader spectrum of how to make money online. So if you're interested, check out the links below and check out my other YouTube videos, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one.